There is a voice speaking in your head right now. Most people hear it and call it themselves. But behind that voice, beneath it, prior to it, there is something quieter. A presence that does not speak, does not argue, does not defend. A clear and living awareness that does not think, yet knows every thought. Every human being lives in two layers. One is the mind, restless, narrating, dividing the world into past and future, success and failure, self and other. The other is awareness, silent, unbound, unchanged by the movements of the mind. The first constructs identity. The second witnesses it. Most stop at the voice and call it me. Few turn toward the silence and discover what they truly are. If you are here, listening to this, something in you already senses the distinction. The question is not whether thoughts arise. The question is whether you are willing to see that you are not them. The mind is extraordinary. It can compose symphonies, build civilizations, justify cruelty, and imagine heaven. It measures, compares, predicts, remembers. It is a precision instrument, but it is not the one who wields it. Pause and observe. A thought arises. I'm curious where this is going. Another follows. I'm not sure I agree. A third adds, this reminds me of something I read. Each thought appears, occupies attention briefly, and dissolves. Yet something does not dissolve. There is a quiet continuity that knows each thought without becoming it. That knowing does not strain. It does not comment on itself. It simply illumines whatever appears. If a thought can be observed, it cannot be the observer. This is the first and most decisive distinction. Hermetic philosophy teaches that all is mental in nature. This does not confine you to private thinking. It expands the horizon beyond it. Your individual mind is not the totality. It is a localized current in a vast sea of consciousness. The wave moves. The ocean remains. Jesus the Christ spoke of the kingdom as within and without. The kingdom is not a distant realm, but the living presence of awareness itself. What you call inner thought and outer world arise in the same indivisible field of knowing. The division is not conceptual. The field is singular. The Buddha observed that what we call self is a stream of aggregates, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, each transient, each conditioned. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. Yet, even here, thought is known. There must be a prior light by which it is seen. The mind constructs identity. Awareness illumines construction. Ego is not an enemy. It is a misunderstanding. It gathers memory and preference and calls them me. It traces a line from past to present and projects into future. It compares itself with others and oscillates between pride and shame. It is functional. It helps you navigate the world of form. But when mistaken for the self, it becomes a cage built of narrative. Carl Jung distinguished between the ego and the deeper self. The ego is the center of conscious personality. The self is the totality that includes both conscious and unconscious dimensions. The self is not an inflated ego. It is the ground of wholeness. Mystics have said the same in different language. The mask is not the face. The costume is not the actor. The ego lives in polarity. It depends upon comparison, better or worse, worthy or unworthy, success or failure. Hermetic teaching reminds us that opposites are degrees of the same continuum. Heat and cold differ only in measure. Love and hate share the same energetic axis. The ego swings along this axis, seeking stability in what is inherently unstable. Awareness does not swing. It witnesses both ends of the spectrum without being bound to either. When you identify with ego, life becomes a series of threats and validations. Praise inflates. Criticism wounds. Gain exhilarates. Loss devastates. When you recognize awareness as your ground, the pendulum continues to move, but you are no longer the pendulum. You are the still axis upon which it turns. Imagine a mirror. Before it passed beauty and disfigurement, celebration and tragedy, the mirror reflects all without preference. It does not cling to the pleasant, nor resist the painful. When the image vanishes, nothing is taken from it. You are that mirror. Thoughts are reflections. Emotions are colors flickering across the surface. They appear in awareness, but do not stain it. Or imagine the sky. Clouds gather. Storms break. Lightning fractures the horizon. Yet the sky itself is not torn. It contains the storm effortlessly. When the clouds dissolve, the sky remains as it always was. Open, measureless, clear. You are that sky. Jesus the Christ spoke of making the two one. The two are the observer and the observed, the inner and the outer, the sacred and the ordinary. When it is seen that both arise within the same awareness, the vision collapses. The kingdom is not entered by effort. It is recognized and remembered. David Hawkins described levels of consciousness. Shame contracting the field. Love expanding it. Peace dissolving all boundaries. These movements are real and palpable. Yet even the highest state is witnessed. There is an I prior to the scale. That I is not a state among states. It is the ground of all states. To identify with a state is bondage. To remain as the witnessing is freedom. This is not philosophy for admiration. It is a practice of direct seeing. When anger arises, feel it. The heat in the chest, the tightening of the jaw, the rapid assembly of thoughts constructing justification. Then ask quietly, who knows this anger? Do not answer with theory. Look. There is awareness of sensation, awareness of thought, awareness of impulse. That awareness does not burn. It does not justify. It does not defend. It illuminates. Remain there. The anger may continue like thunder rolling across open land, but the land is not the thunder. The sky is not the lightning. This is not suppression. It is clarity. The Buddha instructed observation without clinging or aversion. Jesus the Christ taught forgiveness not as moral weakness, but as freedom from a reactive identity. Hermetic teaching speaks of transmutation, the shifting of mental states by rising above them. Each teaching presupposes the same capacity, to stand as awareness distinct from what arises within it. Observation loosens identification. Loosened identification dissolves suffering. The ego depends upon time. It gathers memory and projects future. It says, I was wronged, and relives pain in the present. It says, I will be complete someday, and postpones peace indefinitely. But examine carefully. Memory arises now as thought. Anticipation arises now as imagination. Past and future appear within present awareness. Awareness itself is not bound to narrative time. It witnesses narrative unfolding. This is why fear of death grips the ego. The story fears its own interruption. But awareness is not constructed from chapters. It is the page upon which chapters are written. When Jesus the Christ spoke of losing one's life to find it, he pointed toward relinquishment of narrative identity. When the Buddha described impermanence, he aimed to release clinging to what cannot endure. When Hawkins spoke of surrender, he described a letting go of positionality, the need to defend a mental stance as self. What dies is illusion. What remains is clarity. Realization does not bypass the human psyche. It illumines it. Shadow, the rejected, disowned aspects of personality, does not vanish by denial. Jung observed that what is not made conscious is projected outward. We condemn in others what we've refused to face within ourselves. Awareness provides the space in which shadow can be acknowledged without becoming identity. Jealousy arises. It is seen. Shame surfaces. It is seen. Fear tightens the body. It is seen. Seen clearly, shadow loses its compulsion. It becomes energy available for integration rather than fragmentation. Individuation is not inflation of ego. It is alignment of ego with the deeper self. In spiritual language, it is transparency of personality to awareness. Wholeness requires both transcendence and inclusion. Awareness transcends content. Wholeness includes it. Walk into a forest and listen. Trees rise from the same soil, each distinct in form. None debates its worth. None narrates its growth. They stretch toward light without commentary. The river bends around stone without resentment. The mountain stands without pride. The sky receives cloud without complaint. Nature abides in being. Human suffering intensifies when thought becomes identity. We narrate bending in the wind and call it failure. We compare our height to another's and call it inadequacy. True individuality is not egoic assertion. It is unique expression of universal intelligence. Each person is a singular articulation of consciousness, irreducibly distinct, yet sustained by the same ground. As above, so below. The intelligence that orders galaxies pulses in your bloodstream. The macrocosm is mirrored in the microcosm. Awareness expresses through you without being confined to you. You are not separate from the whole. You are a focal point through which the whole becomes conscious of itself. At this threshold, fear may whisper, "If I am not my story, what remains?" What remains is what has always been there. The ego trembles because it depends on narrative continuity. Awareness does not tremble. It requires no defense. When the false center softens, nothing essential is lost. Personality continues. Preferences continue. Action continues. But they are no longer mistaken for the ground of being. You have never been the mask. You have always been the light behind it. Right now, before the next thought forms, notice what is here. There is awareness, open, silent, unbroken. Thoughts will continue. Emotions will rise. The world will demand action. But none of it touches the clear field in which it appears. This is the great recognition. You are not the storm of your thinking. You are the vast, and luminous sky in which every storm gathers and dissolves. You are not the narrative you defend. You are the awareness that reads it. You are not the mask you polish. You are the light that makes it visible. Let the mind function. Let the personality express. Let life unfold in all its intensity. But do not forget the ground. Stand as the witnessing presence. From that ground, act. From that ground, love. From that ground, create. For when you know yourself as awareness itself, fear loosens, compassion deepens, and freedom ceases to be an ideal. It becomes your natural condition. The silence in you has never been broken. Return to it. Live from it. And let the world be illumined by it.